Councillor Holzman. Councillor Moore.
Good morning, Mayor Wood. Good morning, everyone. I would like to move the agenda for Red Deer County Council presented for February the 25th, 2025.
Any discussion on the agenda? Seeing none. All those in favor?
In favor.
It's carried unanimously. And I'll deal with the from our February 11th meeting. Councillor Ramsey.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Wood. I would move our minutes from February 11th. I did not see any errors or omissions.
Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none. All those in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Now, reports, item number 5.1, Canada Rural Transit Solution Fund Agreement.
Good morning, Mayor Wood and members of council.
Good morning.
Today's report to request a council resolution regarding an application to the Government of Canada Rural Transit Solutions Fund grant program to support a capital project of purchasing buses. The Rural Transit Solution Fund is a federal grant program providing funding to target the development of transit solution in rural communities. $250 million in federal funding is available over 5 years to support the development of locally driven transit solutions by assisting people living in rural communities. Red Deer County applied for a grant to assist with the capital purchase of buses. Capital purchases are expected to be acquired within 2 years of a successful applicant signing a contribution agreement under the Rural Transit Solutions Fund's capital project stream. Red Deer County received approval towards the fund of $3 million to purchase conventional compressed gas CNG vehicles, and a council resolution is required as part of the agreement process. Red Deer County is expected to contribute up to $1 million towards the project. An endorsement of this grant application is with the understanding administration will submit a business plan for review, feedback, and final council approval prior to proceeding with the project. Further discussions with council regarding this project will be forthcoming, and at that time, council will determine the level of service required. The government will provide $3 million with the purchase required to commit $1 million of funding towards the purchase. The 2005 capital budget included funding for the purchase of conventional buses and paratruck buses. The current fleet is aging, and as ridership continues to grow along with requests for additional services, buses will be required. These funds provide an opportunity to update the fleet as it ages and assist with capital purchase. As part of the agenda, this report has been shared online. The public can watch the video live stream or through recorded videos with closed caption capabilities. Direction on this matter is included in the meeting minutes, which are published online and summarized in the county news. Alternatives, council may endorse a resolution confirming that Red Deer County meets the requirements to enter into an agreement for the Canada Rural Transit Solution Funds and authorizes the Chief Administrative Officer to enter into the agreement on behalf of Red Deer County, or can deny the request. And our staff's recommendation is that council pass a resolution confirming Red Deer County meets the requirements to enter into agreement for the Canada Rural Transit Solution Funds and authorizes the Chief Administrative Officer to enter into the agreement on behalf of Red Deer County.
Thank you for the report. Ms. Symington, questions of administration. Councillor Kennett.
Thank you for that. Question on the 3 and 1 million. Is that a 75-25 split, or is it a maximum of 3 million? And we have to contribute the full 1 million? What is the breakdown of what they're requiring there?
The maximum contribution that to the project is $3 million, and the county is required to contribute up to $1 million towards that.
Okay, so I'm just wondering, like, it'd be very strange if what we're purchasing came out to exactly 4 million. We're responsible for any extras that
Through the mayor to Councillor Kennett, we haven't seen the actual copy of the agreement. The step in the process right now is to authorize us to enter into the agreement. Those details will be forthcoming once that agreement is sent to us. So I don't have that information to share with you until we see the agreement come forward.
Okay, so this is just a resolution, and then we'll be getting more information
That is correct.
as it moves along the process. Thank you very much.
Mr. Brown.
Yeah, through the CAO to Mayor and Council, the way that it was represented to us was the grant program was to a maximum of $3 million. It was potential 80% funding, but to a maximum of $3 million. So it would be reasonable to assume when we see the grant agreement that what would come back is it would be 75 to 80% cost sharing, but up to that cap of $3 million from the federal government.
Councillor Dupont.
Thanks for the report. So I just have one question. So in regards to our budget, I think, if I remember correctly, was $3 million for this. So that will leave $2 million left in our budget that we won't be using now for this.
Mr. Brown.
Yeah, through CAO to Mayor and Council, we budgeted $1 million for this because that would be the county's contribution. So there had been some hopes or some wondering back and forth if there was 80% funding that perhaps it would be maybe 800,000, 3.2 million from the feds, but they did cap it at 3 million. So our budget that we currently have is $1 million for that. And then any project charter that refers to anything is referring to the overall total cost of the purchase of the buses, but the county's obligation is no more than $1 million that's currently shown in budget.
Okay. I must have been looking somewhere else. Okay, thanks.
Councillor Master.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. 3 million, 1 million. We already own some buses, and the report says that the fleet's getting old and needs replacement. Does this money going to replace all our buses and all our buses? What does that mean? We own 2 large buses and 1 small bus. We own 2 small buses. Can you give me some idea on how many of our initial fleet of buses we own this will help replace over the next couple of years? And secondary to that, are all our buses right now compressed natural gas buses, including the small one, or are some of them diesel? And is there any talk about going electric? So a 2-part question, please, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Ms. Symington.
So through the mayor to Councillor Messier, right now our fleet consists of 1 conventional bus, which is natural gas, which was purchased in 2016, and a diesel bus, which is the backup bus, and that was purchased in 2009. So because the service runs Monday to Sunday, we do have to have the diesel bus in use sometimes because the conventional has to come out to be serviced. The paratransit bus that we have right now is we only have 1, and it is a compressed natural gas, and we have no backup for that. So what happens for that particular thing is if it does go out of service, then we have to use a city paratransit, and their fleet is, again, is providing some of that backup as well to us. But this is really the an opportunity to add to that fleet to be able to provide the service, because we do need the buses as it is aging out. In regards to your question about the electric component, we actually, the first application that we put forward to this program in 2022 was for electric. And then when we went through the process, we recognized that that was probably not going to be able to provide an electric bus to service our area because we don't have the infrastructure for that. So then we worked with the federal government to say, can you take the funding for zero and look at 0 electric buses, and can we switch it over to a CNG? And that's why it's taken us a while to work through this process, because we had to wait for their approval on that. So it did start out actually as an electric zero emissions application, but it had to be changed as we move forward through it.
And I appreciate that, and it certainly sounds like the natural gas bus that the program calls for will fit our existing fleet working with the city of Red Deer. That's what I would assume is going on. Thank you very much, Ms. Symington.
Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Mayor Wood. Great questions. I just have one on worst case scenario. If we weren't successful in getting this grant, how would that impact our plan for the transit? Thank you.
Certainly.
Go ahead, sir.
Through the CAO to Mayor and Council. The reality is as the fleet ages, the need for capital replacement will be there. So this is the opportunity to take advantage of 75 cent dollars and grant funding from the federal government to to modernize and replace our fleet as it ages. Otherwise, the decision will have to come forward to council in the future for capital replacement, and it will be at full cost. So that would be that's the either or option.
Yes, hoping for the best. Thank you, Director Brandt.
You have any questions, Councillor Holzman?
No questions, thank you.
Councillor Ramsey?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Wood. Just curious, and we might not know this until we get the grant agreement, but just curious about any potential like strings attached with the funding. I know other federal grants have had some of that, so I'm just curious if there's anything we're aware of at this time.
Ms. Slamington?
Through the mayor to council, Ramsey, I'm not aware of any strings that are have been attached to this grant. As I said, we haven't received a final copy of the agreement, but there hasn't been anything in the discussions that has raised any concerns in regards to strings being attached.
Perfect, thank you.
Oh, I see Councillor DePalm has another question. Do you have any more questions, Councillor Kennett? Okay, Councillor DePalm, go ahead.
So I just have one more question. It's in regards to the budget. So in the budget, it says 4 million, the 2025 capital plan. So if we get this 3 million, then basically in our budget, 3 million goes back into our budget per se. It won't be used, right?
Mr. Brown?
Yeah, through the CAO Mayor and Council. So that the capital project has to show our total capital expenditure. So similar to when we have road projects, so roundabouts, for example, that are funded by another agency, the total project cost goes into the budget, and then a different line item is where that shows up, where that money comes back. So it's already budgeted that the net expenditure is only $1 million. So it's not that 3 million will go back. It shows the total of 4, but it's only a net outlay for the county of 1 in the budget. Yep.
Okay, sorry, I was just confused because I remember seeing the 4. Okay,
You bet.
thanks.
Is there any other questions? Councillor Kennett?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I would move that council pass a resolution confirming Red Deer County meets the requirements to enter into an agreement for the Canada Rural Transit Solutions Fund and authorizes the Chief Administrative Officer to enter into the agreement on behalf of Red Deer County. And speaking to that, I think we talk a lot in this province about how we're sort of have a negative equalization situation with the federal government. I think this is a great way to get funding dollars back to Red Deer County people. $3 million, that's going to help pay for a lot of our infrastructure on buses that is, as has been pointed out, aging. As was asked before, the compressed natural gas, is that going to be a problem? I think we're going to be okay because we've been doing it for 9 years with the existing bus and gasoline alley, and it's working quite well. And this compressed natural gas sort of fits in with the city who is helping us manage our fleet. I think this is a win-win for the county residents, getting some tax dollars back from the federal government and getting some infrastructure capital stuff that we need to upgrade and replace. So I think this is a great opportunity for us. Thank you.
Comments? Councillor Moore?
Thank you, Mayor Wood. I definitely support Councillor Kennett's motion today. In fact, I was just having a great conversation with Director Miller this morning about public transport and in my travels in Australia, how crucial it is, and it's actually the government considers it an obligation for quality of life. And I think we have to plan for growth, even though we're not a huge city. Life is expensive, and more people will be depending on public transport. And for our county to fulfill its potential, we need to invest. And it doesn't get much better than the federal government helping us out in such a big way. So I totally support Councillor Kennett's motion. Thanks.
Anyone else? Okay, so I'll just speak quickly. It sounds like we have support from those that have spoken. Extremely important, the bus service into Gasoline Alley region. Our businesses there need this service, and to be able to see replacement cost of these buses coming from the federal government is extremely important to our bottom line. It is helping to reduce our costs of the replacement of infrastructure we're going to have to replace anyways. And so, hopefully that this grant works out for us. And we can continue to provide that great service that we've been asked to provide, from one of our biggest money-generating areas of Red Deer County is Gasoline Alley, and we have to ensure that those businesses actually have the ability to get their employees to and fro. All those in favor?
In favor.
It's carried unanimously. We'll continue on to the next item, which is going to be item number 5.2 in our agendas. That is the Central Sport funding request. I'm surmising it's you, Mr. Koopmans, being as you just sat down, or is someone else handling it? Oh, it is not. Ms. Badry, you just have help coming in today.
I do.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. So we're here today to consider the funding request from Central Alberta Sport Authority in the amount of $25,000 for 2025. This funding will go towards the operating budget for Central Sport. Central Sport has received funding from Red Deer County in the amount of $25,000 for the years 2023 and 2024 and has provided updates and progress reports each year to Council. Central Sport was formed as one of the primary legacy projects from the 2019 Canada Winter Games. They are committed to building on the momentum created by the Games and to position Central Alberta as a leader in sport. The vision of this organization states that through excellence and regional collaboration, Central Alberta will be known as a leader in sport provincially, nationally, and internationally. Central Sport identifies 3 pillars for the organization: sport advocacy and development, sport hosting and event development, sport inclusion and celebration. Central Alberta Sport provides a variety of services to Central Alberta, including online support or sport directory, volunteer database, sport-focused communication, sport hosting support, resources for sport organizations, event development, and much more. Central Sport is governed by a board of directors that are elected at the annual general meeting, and these directors serve dual roles of both governance and management. Each director will serve on at least one working committee board. Central Sport provided an update and progress report to Council on February 4th, 2025, detailing the 2024 accomplishments and milestones. Some of the highlights were Central Sport volunteer team, contributing over 1,500 volunteer hours, across 12 diverse events. They showcase their dedication to supporting community sports and are an essential cornerstone to Central Sport and the vision. 405 of these volunteers are new as of 2024. Sport hosting and event development. Attended the Central Canadian Tourism Conference in June 2024, providing the opportunity to engage with representatives from over 20 national sport organizations across Canada. They established a sport hosting committee working with Tourism Red Deer, the City of Red Deer, Red Deer County, Westerner Park, Red Deer Polytechnic, Central Alberta Indigenous Community, and Hotels Red Deer to attract events to Central Alberta, and they formed partnerships. They signed partnership agreements with Red Deer Games Foundation, Kids Sport, Alberta Sport Development Centre, and Tourism Red Deer. Central Sport is asking Mayor and Council to consider funding in the amount of $25,000 for 2025. This money will be used for the operating costs and towards helping Central Sport support the development of all sport in Central Alberta and to help ensure all citizens have equitable access to programs, services, and experiences. Central Sport has expressed its success and commitment to obtaining additional funding streams through alternate stakeholders and partnerships. Funds awarded to Central Sport would come from the economic development budget. Council is asked to approve the funding request made by Central Sport for Red Deer County to provide $25,000 and return to Council in 2026 with an update and progress report. Approve a level of funding Council deems appropriate for 2025 and revisit again in 2026. Request that council refers this matter to administration for further information or deny the funding request. It's staff's recommendation that they approve the level of funding council deems appropriate for 2025 and revisit again in 2026.
Thank you for your report, Ms. Badri. Are there any questions? Councillor DuPont?
Thanks for the report. So I have a few questions. I guess one of the first one is, out of the events that were planned, how many were held in Red Deer County?
Mr. Koopmans?
Through the CAO to Councillor DePalm, we do have the CEO Trevor Thomas in the gallery today. I don't know if he has permission to come up and speak, but offhand, I can't. I don't have an answer for that one. I'm sorry.
Okay. I guess, okay. My other question would be,
Before we continue on, we have a little discussion here if council agrees. Well, I have to have council's nod. That question, if it needs to be answered, would council mind if that question was answered by the CEO that's in the audience or not? Does anybody mind?
I'm okay with it.
yeah, I would like,
Is anyone not? Okay, we would sure love to have that question answered, sir.
Good morning. Thanks for having me again. So the answer to that question, there's actually two events, and they were both in Sylvan Lake last year. One was the bull busting event, and then they also had another event that they just needed volunteers for that we went out for them.
okay, so that was in Sylvan. It wasn't actually in Red Deer County then?
No,
Okay. So I guess my other question would be, so how many Red Deer County residents have participated in your stuff?
well, that's hard to say because we had quite a few people come through the Explore Sport Day and then the different events that happened within Sylvan. I'd imagine within the bull busting event in Sylvan Lake, there was probably many Red Deer County people that went to that. Not to mention the different events that happened within the city of Red Deer as well, whether it be hockey events, ball events, and then the softball nationals that were in Blackfalds as well. So it's hard to say the exact number, but I would anticipate just from a regional event that would draw a lot of people from all over the place.
Okay, so I guess going forward, are you going to track how many residents from Red Deer County are actually affected by this, or?
Well, okay, so I'll use the curling event that we hosted back last year. There's people from all over the place. So for us to track that as Central Sport, that's not our mandate. Tourism Red Deer, that is something they do. So we can try to get some of that information from them as well. That is something more that Tourism Red Deer would be doing.
Okay, and I guess I have two more questions if I can.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I guess how much longer is Central Sport until there's, like, I guess, financially stable to do and not ask for so much funding from everyone?
Initially, the goal was 5 years and that's pretty standard for most in terms of kind of getting off the ground and getting kind of that funding going from alternate sources. We are looking at hiring a volunteer coordinator, so when we do events that we can actually have volunteers. When I was here last time, I mentioned that we have connected with an organization called Charitable Impacts. So people in our community who want to donate are able to do that now and get a tax receipt. So we're looking at different ways to be sustainable. The challenge is right now, like, we don't live on a lot of money. We live on $125,000, including the grant from the city and the county, which isn't a lot of money considering all the things that we've been doing and growing into. But yeah, the goal was 5 years, and we're still hoping to meet it by that time.
Okay, and how many new stakeholders did you get this year, and what did they contribute?
In terms of
Funding towards your program?
We had two municipalities. We've had some private ones as well that have sponsored events, but in terms of municipalities, Blackfalds and Sylvan Lake were the ones that came on this year.
Okay, and if I remember correctly, it was 5,000 that they contributed?
Correct.
Okay, those were all my questions for right now.
Thank you.
We'll continue around if there are questions. Councillor Kennett, no. Councillor Ramsey?
Thank you, Mayor Wood. Yeah, one of my questions was answered already. I guess to administration. So there would be no budget amendment required for this.
Ms. Badri?
Through the CAO to Councillor Ramsey, no, the budget has been included in the economic development funds.
Do you have any questions, Councillor Holzman?
Good morning. I actually do. I just wondered if any of the other municipalities like that are in the local area, Penhold, Innisfil, any of them have been approached and for funding or to become a part of this?
Yeah, excellent question. As I mentioned in the last meeting I was here, we started talks with Penhold about hosting that event at Penhold, the cornhole event that we're looking to do either later this year or early in 2026. Innisfil, we've had initial meetings with. We're hoping to build on that as well. The biggest thing we're trying to show is to provide worth. As soon as we do that, then communities are a little more apt to come to us to show that. So we've already done that with Sylvan Lake. We've done that with Black Falls. We're doing that with Penhold. And as we kind of bring the circle out a little bit more, that's the goal.
Do you have any
Thank you.
supplemental, Ms. Badri? Answer? No?
Through the CAO to Mayor Wood, no, I think Trevor has explained it.
Okay. I just seen your light flick for a sec, so. Councillor Moore?
Thank you, Mayor Wood. I just have a question about your volunteers. It seems that's a lot of hours. How much do you depend on your volunteers?
Well, we have, I am half-time. We have an executive assistant who's quarter-time. So if we don't have volunteers, we don't run. So that's the bottom line is, and a lot of events don't run. So we are hosting an Explore Sport Day on March the 29th. It's going to be in the Dawes Center. We're going to advertise this widely. But part of this is also we're going to have a sports symposium. So we're going to have local sport organizations come in prior to this event. And so we're having Jesse from Tourism Red Deer come in, Hugh McPherson from Red Deer Games Foundation, to explain how, if organizations want to host events, how they can be supported. They can be supported financially through the committee we have with Tourism Red Deer. They can be supported through the marketing efforts, but they can also be supported through the volunteer base. Because generally we know that that's the biggest barrier to hosting an event is volunteers. So recently we've just been working with a group that, the Canadian Ring Ed Association. They're looking for somewhere to host the World Championships. So we're just in the initial stage of that, of actually showing what that might look like. And again, without an army of volunteers, we couldn't even start looking at that. And that's just one event. In 3 weeks, I go to the Canadian Sport Tourism Conference, which is going to be in Calgary. And again, we're going to be meeting with 20 to 30 national sport organizations about hosting events in our region. Again, not just Red Deer, but within our region. The idea would be to have those all over the place with working with the municipalities and the facilities. So again, without the volunteers, there's no chance of any of those happening.
Thank you. And I thank you for that response. My second question is, so if there was a hockey team or a sporting association in Red Deer County and they needed support, they would get support from this organisation. Am I correct?
Absolutely. And again, when I was here last time, I got a really good lead on the fishing derby. So those are things we look into and reach out and say, hey, if you need something or you need support for that, you need marketing, you need people, we're here for you. And so we're always looking for those events to come to us so we can find out about them and ideally support them and build them, because we know the sustainability becomes difficult, but the economic benefit of all these events can be huge and keep building.
Thank you.
Councillor Messier?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. And thanks for the plug on the fishing derby. And I get where some of our questions are coming from. Everything you seem to do is in a municipality, not in Red Deer County. I get it. We don't have facilities. We have people that go to facilities. And so we appreciate you supporting Sylvans and Blackfalds, because that's where our people go, or the city of Red Deer. But I'm trying to get my head wrapped around the number. And I don't know if it's your ask, if it's an ask that started way back when just to get you off the ground, but I heard you say some numbers, and one of them was the $125,000. And that's your bare bones number to try and get you through operating. And then I look at our contribution of $25,000, and That's a dollar ahead. And I'm thinking, well, you keep talking regional, and I think that's the only success you're going to have is region. And the question's coming, Mr. Mayor.
Good.
The question is, what do you need to operate? Is it a dollar ahead from the region, $300,000 a year, and you guys would be laughing? Or is it you can get away with $100,000 a year, and as long as the city and the county contribute, you're not going to fold? And I get it. If you can prove to Sylvan and Blackfalds and Innisfil and Penhold and Delburn that it's worthwhile, they'll start contributing eventually. But I don't think they're going to contribute $25,000 like the county. And I don't know if we can continue to contribute to $25,000. But the question is, for long-term success, are you looking at a dollar ahead based on a 300,000 population region, or less than that? Or what is it you need to success in this region? And I'm using a number of 300,000 people because I think that's usually what we talk about for a region. So did you hear a little question in there, sir?
So my background is post-secondary education. I was an instructor and then dean of business for some time. A not-for-profit is very similar to that because we kind of have to chase the money to survive, and we have to kind of look at what niche do we fill, and then how can we create economic sustainability within that. So right now we're kind of looking at taking a look at, we service our local sport organizations to make them strong, but that's not going to get us any revenue. Like that's basically just creating it so that they become strong and they create kind of that wellness within our region. Second area is bringing events. There potentially could be some income in bringing events if we partner. So the cornhole tournament that I mentioned, that could be a potential revenue source for us if we partner with the town of Penhold, we partner with the Cornhole Association. So it's bringing some of those events maybe that we own a little bit. The other thing is there are many events that happen at facilities like Westerner Park where they actually bring in events. The Arabian Horse Show is an example of that. So that event came in. It's kind of a for-profit event, but they still needed volunteers. So we provided 50 volunteers to them. They paid us a small sum of money. So that's another revenue area. So if we can actually, now the economic benefit to the region is still big because you've probably heard how many people come for that Arabian Horse Show. It's massive. So looking at events like that we can support, that still bring in economic benefit for the city and the county, create a little bit of revenue for us. So Council, I'm not sure if that totally answered your question, but those are ways that we're exploring. We also have a couple people that we're looking at potential gifts, which could be sponsorship, i.e. they sponsor the volunteer program and have it named and receive that taxable benefit. So we're looking at all areas to stay sustainable because we know this is needed in the region. Like it's been proven for a long time. That's why it was started in the first place by a really group of hardworking people that came out of the games. But I think it's kind of gone beyond that because there are cultural events that can happen. We're looking at providing events for a folk fest that may happen next summer. Again, that would keep our people in our region instead of going to Edmonton and Calgary. So it's looking at those events that may add sustainability. But until we get to that point, we do need help. Like, there's no other way to say it. Our goal is to, within 5 years to be out of that. There's no guarantee of that. And you know what? Maybe if we can't do it, we shouldn't exist. But that's where we are right now. And it'd be a shame if we didn't.
And I think with the 5 year and you've got some ideas to create revenue, between my lousy question, I heard an answer in there too. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. So we've all had an opportunity to ask questions, and I'm looking for a motion. Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Mayor Wood. Great questions and responses. With that, I would move that we approve a level of $25,000 for the year of 2025 and revisit this again in 2026.
Councillor Messier.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Now that I'm allowed to voice my opinion and not have to have a question is, I've got to figure out a game plan to wean this club from our $25,000 a year sponsorship. Do I want to cut them off? No. Do I see success if other municipalities and other revenue sources start to chip in at a fair level? Yes. But there has to come a day when Red Deer County does not carry the weight for all the municipalities in this area. I mean, at 25,000, I don't know what the city's contributing, and I don't want to compare ourselves to the city. The benefits the city gets, that's their reasoning. The benefits we get, that's our reasoning. The motion on the table is 25,000. That's the same as we've been given the last couple of years. When do we start weaning ourselves because others are pulling up their socks? When do we set the example that Red Deer County can no longer be the supporter that everyone else benefits from? There are 18,000 people in Sylvan. They're contributing 5,000? What is the right number? I don't believe 25,000 is anymore. I'm going to say let's go down to 20. And if the mover doesn't like the new number of $20,000, then we'll vote on the number, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Councillor Messier. And I hear exactly what you're saying. And, you know, I think it's really important that we support this organisation. So if 20,000 is more palatable, I'm really struggling. I'm really struggling with this. I didn't speak to my motion. I'm asking Merwood if I may speak to my motion. Why?
We're getting procedural problems.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'll tell you, but you can speak to the difference. The difference that it may change to your motion, that would be...
Yeah. So you know, while I understand where my colleague is coming from, I think the difference of $5,000 to our municipality is minimal, and we do support organisations with much more money than this, actually. So, you know, I thank you for indulging me thinking out loud here. I don't deem it friendly. I think I'm going to stick with the 25,000. And for this to come back to us, and I agree, we can't forever be, we have to cut you loose. But
Right.
for
So
now,
it's not friendly.
25,000.
It's not friendly. Okay, so now that we have a motion on the floor that is not friendly, that deems that it's not friendly, we will need to discuss the motion as the amendment to the motion. And so we will talk about the amendment to the motion to change the value to 20,000. Councillor DePalm, you're next in line if you want to speak.
Yeah, I guess the money part of it and how much I'm struggling with. I don't know if I would even support the 20,000. In all reality, I'd like to see it actually less. And that being said, the simple fact is there's lots of organizations that would like money, and you know, it gets hard, and we have areas in the county that need support, and when we don't support them because we're supporting other things, I have a hard time with that. So I'm struggling with, you know, either of these amounts. So right now I won't support either of them because I'd like to see it in half.
Councillor Kennett.
Yeah, I'm in a similar boat. You know, especially since it's tough, because I know when programs come, there's a good economic benefit to our businesses. But again, what we heard was programs are going to other communities and they aren't supporting. You know, that's, and especially if we're looking at a cornhole tournament to a place that's not even supporting them now, let alone in the future. I'm going to support the motion, quite frankly. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Ramsey.
Can I ask a question, administration?
Of course you can.
When when this originally came before, I think in the report it says we supported them in 23 and 24. There was original request for so many years, and we kind of turned this into an annual component. So I'm just curious, do we know what the original request was?
Through the CAO to Councillor Ramsey, the original request that came in 2023 was for $25,000 for that year. When I presented it to council last year in 2024, I had asked for 2 years. I believe 2 years worth of funding. It was at that time, and rightfully so, it was decided by our elected officials that no, you know what, we'll support $25,000 for 2024, but we would like to have Central Sport come back, give us essentially a report card and show us what they've done in 2024, and we can revisit this funding request again in 2025. That was done back in early February when the CEO, Thomas, presented in front of you. And so that's why, again, we, in discussions with yourself and your wishes, but also with discussions with CEO Thomas, who actually supports that type of approach, to get in front of council again, have the discussions, let you know exactly where they're at, where they're moving, and some of the key milestones that they've made. It's important to show that, you know what, there is, they are making steps forward.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the bit of background there, because I was a bit fuzzy on where we were at exactly. This is a tough one. I was pretty on the fence about this whole request, you know, as I knew it was going to be coming to us again, and kind of what we heard last year. But you know, I really liked the report we got this year. You know, they came before us. They said, you know, this is what we heard from council last time, and these were kind of the concerns, and this is how we kind of made some steps towards addressing those concerns. So that certainly kind of sold me a little bit more on where we're at. I do agree, you know, struggling to see a little bit of the direct county resident impact, but I think, you know, I think we're getting some progress there, and as the organization strengthens and you get more awareness, and, you know, I think we will start to see some more benefit. So, you know, at this time, I won't support the amendment. I think I'm comfortable with the $25,000 for this year. So,
Thank you. Councillor Holzman.
Thank you for all the debate. I'm, and like everybody else, I'm torn on this, but I do see the economic benefit for the area. And my questions about Penhold and Innisfil, I am happy that they have been in discussions with them. I think that we did see a great report this year that at least showed where we were coming from and where they were going, and they've been working hard. So I really am torn, but I will support the motion as it stands for the 25,000.
Thank you. Do you want to close? I haven't spoke yet. Okay. So I've heard. Oh, that's right. That's right. Go ahead. Speak to the, and then I will speak, and then you close. Sorry, I was thinking the original motion.
Apologies, we are speaking to the amendment. I won't support the amendment. I stand by my original motion of 25,000. There's no greater investment than in our youth, particularly in rural communities. And if they can be supported by an organisation that means the difference between success and failure, then I believe this is a really worthy investment, not to mention the economic benefit that comes with these sporting events to our hotels and our businesses. And, you know, as Councillor Massier said, we don't have our own recreation facilities, so we can't host these things, but our neighbours can. And rest assured, there will be lots of county residents that attend those. So for those reasons, I speak against the amendment of 20,000.
Okay, then I'll speak, and then you can close, Councillor Masters. Okay, so we've heard lots of variants on this, and we're talking $5,000 from the original motion. I would like to see the original motion stand, and I will say why. Because I believe that this organization has gave a good presentation to us. They've identified the great work that they're doing within our community and the work that they're doing to promote sports, especially the sports that are utilized by the residents of our county and the youth. But beyond that, the economic activity that comes from these types of sporting events, you know, these folks, when they come to an event in this region, they're staying in a lot of them in Red Deer County's Gasoline Alley. They're utilizing the restaurants of this area, and they're promoting this area. And when these types of events come, this is an economic driver that brings in other types of businesses that see that we live in a great area, that we have a rounded community. This organization is, in fact, trying to better themselves. They're going out, they're going to many different conferences that we're hearing. They're trying to rub shoulders with the people that, in fact, might bring larger events into this region. And all of those events, especially the large ones, even if they are held in the city, those folks are staying in a lot of our hotels. And so I'm taking a look at it. They're supporting our volunteers. And I think that the building of a volunteer base in our community is so good. And so how do I measure $5,000 plus or minus? What I would measure is that we want to ensure that this organization in the short term, and recognizing that we may need some decent long-term vision, but in the short term needs enough money to be sustainable, and that I'm concerned that removing $5,000 from their budget, then they already look like they have a tight budget, would not be the way to go today. So that's why I'm going to support the original motion of 25. Go ahead, Councillor Messer, you close.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor, and I don't think there's much to say. I mean, and we're all saying it. We got to support our youth, we got to support our businesses, and we're doing all that. I guess all my amendment is showing is that it's time for Red Deer County to support these organizations and others to step up to the plate, because we can't carry them anymore. I'm hearing from the report that others are starting to participate. We've got other revenue streams coming in. And so when you get other revenue streams coming in, you're not as dependent on Red Deer County. And now's the time to show that. And so that's why I made the amendment. I still want to support the group. I still think they're doing great work like everyone else. But it's time to show the rest of and really show my own ratepayers that their taxes aren't being used to support others. And so call the question on my amendment, please, Mr. Mayor.
Yep. Thank you. We've had very good discussion. So we have a motion on the floor to amend the amount to $20,000. All those in favor of that amendment? Opposed to that amendment?
Opposed.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So that motion has been lost. We're going to go back to the original motion. Any further discussion on the original motion? Councillor DePalm, go ahead.
I guess going forward, I honestly truly cannot support this 25,000. I realize this is a good program and everything else, but also that being said, like Councillor Massier said, all these other municipalities have got to step up to the plate. It is not up to Red Deer County all the time to support all these initiatives. I do totally understand the economic benefit to our hotels and that kind of thing, but also Red Deer County is always stepping up to the plate to support where others sometimes don't. So, and I agree 100% with Councillor Massier says, you know, our ratepayers need to know that we're not always the ones footing the bill. So I won't support the 25,000, and going forward, I guess next year I would, you know, coming back, I would like to see more funding from other municipalities and more. If they're getting economic benefit, then they have to step up to the plate as well. It's not always on Red Deer County to do it.
Anyone else wish to speak? We'll go around the table if so. Seeing any hands up? Councillor Holzman?
No.
Okay, I've said my piece. Your motion, Councillor Moore, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Wood. I really do appreciate the perspective of my colleagues, and I understand. I really think that this organisation is on the up. What did it for me was the volunteers. We know how difficult it is to get volunteers, and the fact they've got so many volunteer hours, and you know, they run a very lean machine here. It's quite incredible, really, what they do. So, you know, while I understand the concerns of my colleagues, I really support this, and I think there's no greater investment than in our youth and in our communities. So, yeah, thank you.
We've had good discussion. All those in favor of Councillor Moore's motion?
In favor.
All those opposed? A motion's been carried. Councillor Messier, Councillor DePalma, and Councillor Kennett were opposed. The remainder were in favor. Okay, let's make myself a note. Okay, we have a request for a break. We can do a break. Let's come back at 10:35. It's 10:25 now. Thank you very much. Holy cow, we got, looks like we have an appointment to public member of a committee. That's item number 5.3.1. Now, it looks like that could cause us to go in camera. Go ahead.
I would move us in camera at 10:40 for appointment of public member to committee, FOIP section 17(1), 23(1), and 24(1)A.
Okay, all those in favor?
In favor.
Unanimous. That's right. Are they ready? We're good? Perfect. Okay, looking for a motion. Councillor Kennett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I apologize in advance. I'm going to try this. I move that Damibi Owanaha be appointed to the SDAB effective immediately with the term ending at the organizational meeting in October 25. And I apologize if I said that wrong. Thank you.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. I think we're out of business here. Looking for one more. Who hasn't made a motion today?
Motion to adjourn
All right. Councillor Holzman.
at 10:46.
All right. All those in favor?
In favor.
That's carried unanimously. All right. Do you need any amount of time to switch to the next meeting? You do? Give us, how long? 10 minutes? 2 minutes? 5 minutes. Okay, we'll come back in 5 minutes, 10:52.